Hi there, I'm Andrew Holt, and welcome to my podcast series. Today I'll be leaving my musical theme for just a little while to interview my good friend Kevin Rack from Cape Town in South Africa, a keen wildlife and wildflower photographer, and more recently, an accomplished videographer, utilising drone footage for his latest project. Kevin speaks Afrikaans and has also learnt the language of the Namibian and Nama desert tribes. A keen surfer, Kevin first began noticing the huge problem we have in this world with plastic waste. He goes on massive cleanup drives and lobbies intensely for change whenever he can. Sit down and relax with a herbal tea and light some incense as I speak candidly with my good friend Kevin Rack.
A few moments later.
So here we are. How are you going?
Oh, mate, good. Always good to see your face. I know it's been a long time, and it's been a long time since I've seen your beautiful face and your wife, but all good, mate. All good.
Yeah,
it's been a struggle, but good.
Great. I've just got a few questions here for you, my friend, as we discussed, because we haven't seen each other for so long. I mean, I think I met you in 2011 when you returned to Cape Town after 2013. I noticed on your social media you threw yourself immediately into conservation projects. And I've been following you for years on Facebook to help people become more responsible for their environment. And just tell me a bit about that journey.
Wow. Okay. So first of all, I mean, the way I always tell everybody is that what I'm about to tell you is from my point of view, and I could be wrong. So I always allow people the fact that I'm human, and the stories I tell are from my point of view. So if you, and any of your viewers and any guys that watch this, please give me feedback and say to me, no, man, I think you might be wrong in this. But so this is just from my point of view. Pollution is based in one of the default problems of human beings, which is the sociopathic tendencies. So the foundation of pollution is found in behavioral problems in human beings. So if we're looking at, for example, and I've followed the whole chain from production to destruction. And what I found was quite shocking in that a lot of the CEOs of companies that produce products that are bad for the environment are very aware of what they are doing. They're very, very aware that their products are creating a toxic legacy for those generations to come, and they won't change. I've seen a certain drinks company, which has got a red brand, which everybody knows. It's one of the biggest producers of plastic in the world. We won't mention the name because they've got big lawyer accounts. And they were able to get videos removed off YouTube that was showing that the CEO of this particular company admitted that his products were causing harm, but admitted that shareholder value and returns were far more important than the harm that would have been done to the environment and to society. So pollution has its roots in the sociopathic nature of man, and also the systems that sociopaths create, like private schools, the sporting systems where the winner takes all. These systems all put together and all come together to a point where the CEO has a product and he knows that it pollutes the environment and he actually doesn't care.
Wow.
So yes, but so it's a deep-rooted issue. Yes.
I'm going to touch more on that business about plastic as well in the next questions. But first of all, I'd like to tell you that like my older brother, Michael, he went on a walkabout with the desert tribes here in Australia. And he did. And they got lost, which is probably a good thing if you go walkabout, I guess.
Yeah, right.
You know, you want to find the answers in the wilderness. You've got plenty of time to do it.
Yeah. So when I left Australia, I had this epiphany, and I started having a look at South Africa's a group called the San, which is they're the original settlers of Southern Africa. You would have seen them on telly, the shorter people, kind of a little bit squeezy on the eyes, a lighter color, maybe an ochreish color, possibly
like the Kalahari Bushmen, or
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Except that these people used to occupy the whole of Southern Africa until tribes came from the north and pushed them down to the desert. So like your brother, I would recommend to people, especially Aussies, I would highly recommend most Aussies to go and walk about and to go and explore the Aboriginal culture that you have in Australia. It is immensely deep. We see the smaller things on the outside, but once you start exploring Indigenous culture, you'd be quite surprised at the level of sophistication and the level of knowledge that they have. Just because there is no scientist to prove that root works, yet that root would be used to cure people for certain diseases. So it's so to all my Aussie mates out there, I would really encourage you guys to go and walk about. You're sitting on a trove of treasure of knowledge that I don't think you even hardly know about. And I would encourage all you guys to definitely do what your brother's done and take a walk about.
Yeah, we take our place for granted, really, our culture.
For sure.
Shared culture.
Especially the Aboriginal culture. Yes.
Yeah. They have a situation here, like through millennia, where they would go into a place and, gather the resources. They might be there a year or 2 years or whatever until they get to know the seasons ins and outs, and they realize, well, for the next 6 months, pointless hanging around here, so we're going to bugger off, right? So they disappear, but now we don't see any indication of the fact that they have been there, which is amazing. European settlers, you give them half an hour and they'll leave trash, right?
Yeah.
But apart from the midden piles, which are piled up over millennia, they're amazing. The middens, which have the remnants of the oyster shells and so forth, the seashells. Yeah,
fully organic.
It is. It's organic.
Yeah, and it breaks down. So you hit on a very, very amazing point, and which is something I've been having a lot of not arguments, but discussions with my European friends. So if we look at Indigenous cultures living on the land the way they do, we have a tendency to think that they're backward. That's basically, let's be quite honest. We think, these guys must be backward.
It's pretty much the indication everybody
but
gets.
If you look at the way we're trying to live our lives now, if you go to the top spiritual scholars, they say to you, get rid of all your possessions. If you're going to look at things like people leaving their bikes behind. Now the real hipsters are trying to leave their cars behind. These guys are already doing it. They've been doing it for thousands of years. They're actually ahead of the game. They're not behind the game. These guys have been there and they're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
They leave no trace. If I attend
that's it. Leave no trace. Yeah.
If I go to the biggest festivals in the world, they tell you leave no trace. You mustn't leave any litter behind. These guys have been doing it for millennia. The only stuff they left behind is the middens and the shells that break down. In South Africa, we have lots of middens as well.
Wow.
So we also dig up the middens and we find ostrich shells, which ostrich shells is what we would find. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so leave no trace. And if you look at Australia at the moment, with the plastic production problems that are there, I think you guys need to follow your Indigenous cultures and start living more holistically.
And even in my unit complex, people just give up. They just throw everything away. There's even a community trying to plant herbs, and they even had a worm farm down on the footpath. People put plastic in the worm farm.
Yeah, man.
Stupid. Now, and talking about this plastic business, I saw in many of your posts that you're very focused on plastic pollution, especially microscopic plastic that finds its way into the food chain, the microscopic food chain. Should we be that worried, though? I mean, they break down into tiny pieces called noodles, as I hear you say a lot. You walk along the beach and you go, noodles, noodles, noodles. But
can I make a quick correction there, young man?
What's that?
Okay, so noodles are a product that is imported as a pre-production plastic. Noodles
they form from a manufacturing process. So
what you do is they're pre-production. So you take the noodles, you put them into what's called an extruder, you melt them.
Okay.
And then so this is the problem. Thank you for bringing this up, because most people don't know about noodles. Noodles are pre-production. There are several thousand tons of it in the sea at the moment. Yeah, no, maybe more. I think there's a couple of 100,000 tons in the sea. What happens is that the noodles they come in huge quantities to make plastic bags. So you need a hell of a lot of them. They put in the containers on the outside of container ships. So the lowest cost products is on the outside. So the ones that can fall off first tend to be noodles. So that's why you're always getting noodle. You're not getting Nike shoe wash-ups.
Yeah.
You're getting noodle wash-ups. So they production. What makes them particularly dangerous is one, they look like seafood.
They look like seafood. Yeah.
So that's the first problem. Secondly, is that they come pre-coated. So if a noodle is meant to be for, say, for example, fire retardant, those noodles will contain the fire retardant in them. So immediately they've got toxic chemicals in them. And then secondly, you have
ISO chemicals. Did you say
ISO?
What chemicals did you say?
For example, a fire retardant.
Yeah.
So, for example, I've got a whole lot of plastic now that's going to be made into fire retardant material. That fire retardant's already in that noodle.
Yeah.
You bought it from your pre-production like that with it already in it. So it has PBTs and it has POPs. Now, a PBT and a POP are also very bad for human beings. So plastics act as a magnet, believe it or not, for E. coli and other things like heavy metals. So you've got a double whammy. All the plastic that you're getting is now coated in toxic material as well.
They're telling people here not to fish under the harbour bridge because when it rains, all the heavy metals get stirred up from the bottom of the harbour. When that's just crazy.
It is crazy. So we have what's called nanoplastics. Now, nanoplastics is the plastics that you can't see with the naked eye. Okay, so we've got to remember
pictures of them where they've gotten into the protozoa.
Yes.
Yeah. They're
getting to the cell now. So they've got the first recording in the UK where they showed a piece of plastic moving from one cell to another.
Wow.
So that means that's so small it can actually move in your body, around your body.
Wow.
And it's an endocrine disruptor, and it also will it's also carcinogenious. So you're looking at a triple whammy with plastic being so small. You can't filter it out of your drinking water anymore. It falls in raindrops, and it's been found in dust.
But isn't raindrops the purest form of water? Raindrops, rain?
No,
really?
No.
Like acid rain?
Yeah. So you've got it falling in raindrops. And so the human beings have produced, since 1950, we've produced, I think, just under 9 billion tons of plastic. So you've got to imagine how much plastic that is compared to how lightweight plastic is. Now, 99% of it still exists today. So you've got to remember all that plastic has been generated is sitting somewhere. It's sitting on the bottom of the ocean. It's more than likely sitting in big holes in the ground and things like that. But plastic doesn't decompose. It doesn't biodegrade. It just gets abraded smaller and smaller into smaller particles, but it never leaves a plastic molecule unless it's heated over the temperature that it was made at. So if a meteor struck the Earth, it will unbundle. But until that point, the plastic is there forever.
Wow.
So it doesn't break down into organic compounds now.
I see people buying all these organic shopping bags, but they're made from the same thing. They just last longer. Yes.
So what it's very, very tricky subject. It's a very deep subject because it's all, once again, rooted in man's desire to receive for himself alone. I mean, we're producing products that we can't unbundle. It's also made from oil. It's a byproduct from oil. It's linear. So plastic is it's linear in one line. So it's not circular. So you can't take a plastic bottle and keep recycling it.
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah. So it only goes one way.
But generally, it's because it's made in oil. So anything that's affecting you pumping new oil is seen as a threat. Recycling is a threat to the oil industry. So it gets pushed down. So you can get a PET plastic bottle, which is like plastic, but it can only get recycled maybe 2 times as a plastic bottle. And then the fibers actually have a problem. There's a problem with the way it gets recycled, so it can't be used again. In fact, the polymer chain gets weaker, actually. That's what happens.
Oh, right. I see.
So plastic, what happens when they talk about recycling is that it goes from the plastic bottle to a recycler and then it maybe becomes a fence, like a plastic pole or something,
Ah,
or
gotcha.
it gets sold to China. Like Australia
Yeah.
used to sell all this plastic to China,
Yeah.
and then China used to dump it in the sea.
Wow. That's what I
So they
wanted
had
to
these,
ask. That's what I wanted to
yeah,
ask. Have you ever been threatened by any of these multinationals?
slap suits for sure. So if you start asking too many questions,
Yeah.
you get what's called a slap suit. The other thing, what they
Slap
do
suit.
is that slap, SLAPP.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's
SLAPP.
quite common. Yeah, it's quite
Not not
common to
not
be.
that slap.
That's what it is. It's like you keep quiet.
Ah, yeah, I get you.
Because
Wow.
they got infinite amount of money to fight any court case.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
they start a case, and you just an individual, you basically they use that to keep you quiet.
Mm.
But no actual threats that I know of. I mean, we have, and I'm going to say this publicly, we did smoke bomb the African oil Indaba, where all the delegates came from around the world to come slice up the African continent and take its oil.
Wow.
So we did smoke out the delegates with a few smoke bombs and a few other things, and we poured oil over the floors, and we watched them slip in the oil, which is quite interesting. We also then went
That's ironic.
Yes, I know, it is actually
Yeah.
quite ironic. And then we went to the hotel a couple of weeks later,
Oh,
and
no.
once again we had a direct action on where all the delegates were staying. But that's about it. I don't go any further than that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to come away from that, your photography wildlife and flowers and little critters like insects and so forth is pretty astounding to me. I've always told you that your talents as a photographer go way beyond the realms of the amateur. And I think you pretty much embraced that, yeah?
Mate,
Probably not.
your
Probably not
words
just
sum
me.
and I'm very kind.
Hey?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm still of that ilk where I say I'm an amateur. So, but thank you for those kind compliments.
Oh, no worries.
I'm going to wear them.
They're well earned. They're well earned.
Yeah, thank you.
You have a good eye.
As they say, yeah. Just to all the guys out there listening to the podcast, I'm blind in one eye, so that's when.
Are you blind in one eye now?
Yeah, mate. I've always been blind in one eye.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, and a bottle goes straight through.
Oh,
like that.
really? Wow. I thought it just affected your cornea or something, but it didn't blind you.
No, yeah.
Wow. I was talking.
We're ever gonna get it up. You've got to hit me from the left.
Hey, you know, Sammy Davis Jr., I saw a YouTube video about him, and he said when he had a problem with his eye and he went blind, a car accident, it took him like months and months to learn how to pick up a glass of water and pour water into it, because his depth perception wasn't that good. So he had to learn how to do it without spilling it. Man, what an amazing feat, really, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the crazy, so mine happened. So this famous cool drink company that we refer to, we're not going to mention names. They produced a whole lot of glass bottles in South Africa that were faulty, and I just happened to be one of those recipients of that faulty product.
Oh, right.
And in Africa, you can't really sue people because it just doesn't happen really. Especially when apartheid was around. So one of the things a couple of strange things. So I learned how to drive with the one eye. I learned how to surf, learned how to ride motorbike, pretty much everything. So I drive. When I get film crew work, I drive cars and trucks up to the desert for the guys up there. But it hasn't greatly affected my life. I went on and learned how to surf and do all these other things after. My sense of smell definitely increased, believe it or not. It was a very strange thing, but
like a Superman.
Maybe no, but I mean, I think sometimes your body compensates.
You compensate, right? Especially these blind people that use those sonar devices on the glasses. You remember seeing about them? And they listen. Their hearing's really good, so they can actually form a picture in front of them of what's going on. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I just when we were at still working next to you, and you would see the guys coming to the shopping center with a stick. Yeah, for me, there's no braver person in the world than a person walking outdoors with no sight.
Mate, I knew a guy. You probably know him, Henry. He was from the Tiwi Islands. He used to come in with his his other mate, and he was just used to use a stick. I'd say, Henry, why are you just using a stick? Why don't you get a dog? It'll be a lot easier. And he said, no, I can find my way quite fine, except when they have roadworks. He fell down a bloody pothole. Terrible. Didn't die, but he scraped himself up.
That's incredible to think that you can switch off your eyes and still navigate this world. It's amazing. I wonder if they. Sorry, yeah.
No, we were sitting in the food court one day, and somebody dropped some change, and he said 20 cents, 50 cents, 20 cents. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. His hearing was that good. He could tell denominations from the coins. Yeah, which is pretty good if you don't want to lose money.
Yeah.
But he ended up.
Yeah, it's incredible that your hearing can get so much more better than others.
Yeah.
And it's the same hearing.
Sorry?
And it's your same hearing. It's not like you develop better ears. It's just, it gives you an idea of how little attention we pay to our hearing.
Exactly. Yeah. We all need that lesson.
Yes. So I could just say a couple of tricks. So one thing about hearing is that the hearing doesn't lie to you. And if your brain is engaged and you're thinking and you in that egoistic state, you don't hear a thing. So your brain will override the audio.
Gotcha.
So if you want to become present, all you need to do is just stop and try and listen. And immediately your brain starts going into neutral and you can start becoming more present. It's very simple.
Mindfulness, as the Buddhists say.
Yes. And just listen. Deep listening is such an important tool, because we as a creature always want to external and talk, when in fact we should be listening more.
Exactly, mate. Sage words indeed. I miss you, mate. I really do.
Thanks. That's very sweet of you. Yeah, I mean, one other thing I could just say to your listeners is that, when I first arrived at that shopping center, you were the first bloke to go, hey, hi, how are you?
Really?
Who are you? What's your name? Yeah, you. That's what's really amazing about you, Andrew. It's that you embrace everybody. You talk to everybody, and so it's a really nice and really beautiful thing that you do. I really.
Thanks, brother. I'm finding it pretty easy to talk to people with this podcast too. I'm pretty happy with the response I'm getting now.
Yeah, you're a natural.
And I'm diving into these live ones. Before I had 4 where they would pre-record, as I discussed with you. They'd pre-record the audio and video and send it back to me, and I'd make it into a type of live stream, but it never was. But this live is awesome. I love it.
I know. It's great.
More off the cuff,
See you next to me.
Hey. Oh, shoot, there you are.
Wrong way. Hello.
Hello.
G'day, man.
So you were talking about your surfing experience, and it must have greatly impacted on your opinion of man's impact on the environment. Tell me when, or if there was a specific moment in time when you first realized that, oh, hell, we're in trouble.
Okay. Yes. So for pretty much most of my life until about 8 years ago, I had, even though I traveled and did all these amazing things, I was quite still stuck in my own echo chamber. And it was only once I started working in the local community did I suddenly see the impact of plastic. So where I realized it was very, very bad was, and one of the cleanups I was working on, we found a baby shark in a plastic bag, which obviously the shark must have gone inside and died. I live in a beachfront, it's got a lot of rocky pools and things. So there's always a lot of octopus and baby sharks and things going on. And I posted this online to our group and I said, oh, look at this poor shark, it died in the bag. And the guy that sponsored been sponsoring our plastic cleanups came on social media, and he was so aggressive, and he was calling us idiots and fools. And I was like, why would he do that? He would have normally engaged with us, like, and say, oh, have you ever thought that maybe the shark never died? So then I started investigating it, and I found out this sponsor, who's been sponsoring our plastic cleanups and all the ones around Southern Africa, is actually a plastic lobby group.
Lobby group?
So they would, so that, every industry has a lobby group that represents them, and they go to parliament and they go to places to speak for them. So a lot of the cleanups in South Africa were being run by a plastic lobby group. And what they were doing is they were taking all those numbers that we were using to clean up and adding it to their recycling numbers.
Oh, great.
And then that's when I realized something was really, really wrong. In that this whole recycling is a con, it's a lie. The story that we recycle plastics is a lie. We recycle paper, but that only is 7 times. And then the paper fibers are a problem. You can keep recycling tin, but you cannot keep, and with glass, but not plastics. And so then I realized the whole recycling industry, and that's when I realized we were in really, really big trouble, is that the mechanisms we were put in place to save us were actually mechanisms to allow people to get away with pollution.
Huh. The mechanism.
I know it sounds very convoluted, but these guys are clever, man. They know how to produce products that are destroying the planet and get away with it.
You've got a second name, Kagara. Yeah?
Tara.
Kagara.
Yes, Tara.
Huh?
No, it's actually Tara. You pronounce it. So it's a Naru word, and it's actually Tara. So
Tara. Oh, okay.
So we have different trick sounds in our languages.
Yeah, I remember, like the Kalahari Bushman in that
here you go.
movie.
Tara. You got a tick sound, then you got a
Tara.
So like isi tosa.
Nkosa.
And mine is from the front, which is only one. You know, like you do that tick tick tick.
Yeah. Tara.
Tara. And that's a Naru San word.
Wow.
And I was in Botswana on a film project, and I've been dabbling in shamanism. And we were doing some ecstatic trance dances with some of the clans. And one of the shamans one day sat me down and my colleague, and they said to me, I was watching you dance last night, I'm watching you what you're doing, and I'd like to, you need to have a new name. And your new name from now on is Tara. Of course, for me, the very first thing that I did was I started talking to him about cultural appropriation, because it's a very real thing. I'm saying to him, I can't take on an indigenous, indigenous African name, but yet be a European. And he said to me, I'm giving you this name and I want you to wear it. And I tried to explain to him about cultural appropriation. And he just said to me this is what I love about the San communities, is they can say things very simply. He said to me, if someone's talking to you about cultural appropriation, just look at what he's wearing on his feet. Just look at his shoes. And if there's an African gentleman standing in front of you wearing full Western garb, tell him that he's stealing from you. And that's cultural appropriation. He said, don't have any fear about being a European living in Africa trying to find his African roots.
I'm going to put up little boxes and everything explaining things that you've talked about, because I didn't understand some of it, so I'm going to look it up and put it up there so that listeners will understand more about what's being said, like how to spell the nurdle. They probably think you're talking about noodles.
New noodles, noodles.
Noodles? What are noodles? Noodles aren't harmful. All right, brother. Lovely to see you.
Oh, if you eat 100 of them and they're not cooked.
Yeah. Ooh. And people do that. Yeah, they eat them uncooked. Oh, well, they're dried.
Dried. Mate, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for doing this. These conversations are very important.
Exactly. I shall put specific notification above things that you've said that will back up your story, because with the visuals as well. So I think it'll turn out well.
Okay. Well, if you need any videos, I've got all that tons of YouTube videos of the plastic and rubbish.
I've taken some of the pictures of your Facebook. I think I've got enough to really tell the story anyway.
Let me leave you with this little.
Yeah, go ahead.
Water is a manifestation of consciousness in the material plane.
Water.
And water is an important spiritual aspect that we use in our work. It's a representation of consciousness in the material plane, right? Water, consciousness is manifested by water. Sorry, I'm in fight now. The plastic and the pollution we find in the water is a man's representation of his ego in that consciousness.
Gotcha.
There we go. I'll leave you with that for the day, man.
Mate, I won't be able to sleep tonight.
And I made that up myself as well.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very good. That's very, very sage-like.
stage. Yes.
All right, brother. Give me that.
Have a lovely day. Thank you. And please send regards to your lovely wife.
High
I'll
five.
go this way. Wait, there we go. Wait.
Yeah. Boom. All right. See you, brother.
Boom. Cheers, mate.
Okay.
Bye.
See ya.